Yeah, no intro. We're just live. The weather report for December 16th, 2022. Oh, oh, I bet you could hear that. Could you hear
I
that?
bet you could. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm doing something different. Anyway, uh,
No thanks, YouTube.
yeah.
Just notified me.
Oh, it did.
Oh,
Okay.
I got
Yeah.
a notification. How nice.
Social.
Oh, nice.
So we got Top Dog. We got Scott Duke. Oh God, who let him in? Captive Desk and Woolly Ignorant are our listeners. Everybody else is listening to James Apperson, a person who we don't know. We don't know that person. Anyway, so this is the third weather report this week, isn't it?
I believe it is.
think so.
Don't
What's
don't
wrong with
get
us?
don't get used to it because it ain't gonna happen next week. Next week is Christmas shopping week.
Is that,
Yep.
is that Christmas shopping? When's Christmas?
Yeah, Merry Mythmas.
Ugh.
I love Mythmas.
Is
That's
that 9
perfect.
days away?
Merry Mythmas, Logan. I like
That
Merry
day
Mythmas.
when we all learned Santa Claus wasn't real.
Yes. Oh God, I was so heartbroken.
Yeah.
Now we got to go back and edit in a disclaimer for children.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Oh,
I don't even know how
there
to
you go.
edit that stuff.
Well, when I was negotiating with Santa Claus for presents, it was cool. But when I had to negotiate with my fucking father, that sucked. So realizing Santa Claus didn't exist was a real blow for me. It's like, no, I gotta be nice to the old man. It's like, God, I don't want to do that. Anyway, and that's how it began. That's how my screwed up childhood began. When I
see.
realized Santa Claus didn't exist.
I think childhood would have been better off without the whole Santa thing.
I don't know.
Because there was still there's still a lot of people whose parents couldn't afford to get them the cool games and toys and devices, and Christmas kind of was a letdown.
I had fun with my kids, though. I used to go and throw rocks on the roof so they'd think Santa was landing on the roof and everything. It was fun. I taught them a whole bunch of myth, like dragons and mythical creatures and stuff when they were really young, until they were about 5 or 6 years old when they started questioning it all, and it kind of set them up to read fantasy and sci-fi, and I think it worked really well. And the myths we used to keep them out of keep them safe, basically. Myth and reality. I give them a little reality too, as far as holding Dad's hand when you wrote, in a parking lot or something like that. But then when they were about 5 or 6, they started questioning us, and that was good to create skeptics that young. That they started questioning their parents, because some of the shit I told them was so far over the top that they were like, "What did you just try to convince us of?" Like. It was pretty cool.
I love it when a little kid, like 6 years old, goes, "Nuh-uh," when you're messing around with them.
Mm-hmm.
They curl up their nose.
Why?
Yeah. So there's a mystery here on Restream, and that is my icon is squished and nobody else's is.
Okay, now let me tell you, I'm looking on YouTube, and from a YouTube perspective, it's nice and round.
What? It is.
So there's a little funny business going on in Restream.
Oh shit! And I wonder if the same thing applies to my. Hang on a second here.
The avatar images are a little bit smaller than on that other app.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there you go, Nerdy Rodent. I knew you were a kid at heart, Nerdy Rodent.
All the day of importance. Well, that looks good on YouTube, I think. Yeah, that looks fine. So that's the same.
Is there a way to give it the entire space, so that you're still not having to squint and use the magnifier? There you go. That's better.
Yeah, that kind of.
Although I still can't read without my glasses. Anything.
Well, that this actually makes it even. Does that make it bigger? Not really. I could go like
Not really.
that. Makes it bigger.
Yeah.
Except you guys are covering part
Yeah,
of it.
now I'm blocking part of it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Can't you just make us disappear?
God, I'd like to be able to make you two.
But still talk, but
Oh.
not even be on there.
No, I was thinking of a total annihilation. So anyway, Andrew, you had a couple of topics you wanted to cover. Some burning desires.
Oh,
Which one do you?
I'm on fire.
Well, it looks like you got an image already on there.
Oh,
Oh, 1 sec.
So
Yeah.
are we looking at a virus?
let me get that off. Let's not talk about that right now. I'm just.
Oh,
gonna
okay.
take it off. Okay. We don't know what we're doing.
That looks like a very tiny, ugly Death Star.
Really? You see a Death Star?
That picture you had on there, Dad, that big round looking thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a Death Star. That's an echinoderm. Invaginating, creating its butthole. It's an
I
echinoderm.
think I heard someone joke, or I don't know who it was, but it was like the most important event in your life beyond you being born was gastrulation.
Yeah, definitely.
Because otherwise you literally wouldn't be who you are today.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a stomach.
But I digress.
There's a lot of stuff. Is that an anus? Yeah, that was an anus. That actually was an anus of an echinoderm. So just so you know, the more you know, the better it is. Okay, so you had two topics. One was cell on astronomy.
Yep.
Yep. You want to go ahead and explain yourself?
Sure.
In other words, is it Hugh Ross on astronomy, really? Is it
No,
Sal on
it's
Hugh
not.
Ross on astronomy?
Not on that either. Yeah, I forget which video it was. When you first brought this up, I know he mentioned it when I was talking with him, and he might have mentioned it in his whole Big Bang debunked or is a screwed up theory video. But basically, I guess a little background. So for a while now in cosmology, we've known that supernovae show time dilation due to the expansion of the universe, and I won't really go into the details of how we know or what that even means in context, because I could, well, I guess I could, but only if the audience really wants me to, which I doubt it. But basically, Sal claimed that the same kind of time dilation wasn't observed in quasars, which, for those of you who don't know, quasars are quasi-stellar radio objects. So basically, they're what we think are supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies, accreting all this matter around them. And it turns out that because of conservation of angular momentum and a few other effects, it can't just suck all of it in all at once. So it has to, it circles around the black hole in what's called an accretion disk. And when you're talking about something as massive as a black hole, or a supermassive black hole, hence the name, things move at such ridiculous speeds, close to the speed of light, due to all the gravitational effects going on there, that just the slightest nudge from one of the particles against another can create a lot of friction. And of course, we know friction creates heat. So all that energy has to go somewhere. So it is emitted as all this light and energy and heat. And that's what we think we're seeing when we see quasars out in the distant, very distant parts of the universe, going back in time, when we think the universe was just more prone to having quasars. But anyway, with that little background, Sal was claiming, based on this paper by an actual astronomer, Michael Hawkins, back in 2010, I believe, where he claimed to have observed no time dilation in the quasars he measured. And Sal was going off about, well, this wasn't measured in quasars, and he also had this other tangent about how it wasn't observed in supernovae either, which I think we've done some video segments addressing that. Like I said, if the audience really wants me to, I can talk about it again. But basically, long story short, that's what Sal was claiming, and he's a few years out of date about that now, because most astronomers, it turns out, don't accept Hawkins' results anymore. There are new methods for determining that, and guess what? They show time dilation on some quasars. So,
Well, there you go.
So
Another quote unquote creation science dude who gets their facts wrong because they won't keep up, because it just doesn't suit them to keep up.
Well, it's not surprising, because like a ton of the stuff that they talk about are scientists from the 19th century, the 19th century, or even the 18th century, and they quote them, and we're supposed to somehow believe that that has something to do with today. I don't know.
right.
Bizarre. So they do this all the time. The point is that he will find it. What point was he trying to make with it? What would it do for young Earth creationism?
Right. Yeah. That's a good question. So basically, I'm pretty sure his argument was, if there's no time dilation in quasars, then we shouldn't trust time dilation in other objects like supernovae.
Right. Okay.
And if there's no time dilation, hang a little bit of echo. If there's no time dilation in any of these objects, that's a kind of key prediction of an expanding universe model. So if we don't see that, then that's kind of unexpected. So I guess his whole thing is, well, we don't see it, so expanding universe must be wrong, and that leads to apparently all the other ideas he proposes.
He's still looking for one domino.
Yep. So like in any kind of one-off thing that they find, that's supposed to just shatter the entire field.
Yeah, if you find time dilation in one thing, but don't find it in other things you expect, that just means, whatever theory that you were using needs adjustment. Not necessarily.
It basically means that object that we don't see it in is just more complicated, or there's something else going on, but we know it works for these other objects. And now, as I just stated, I could probably find the paper, but now we know it exists in quasars too. At least
what are you looking for when you're looking for? What are you looking for when you're looking for time dilation? Because I know, like with gravitational lensing, you're looking for light to basically be shifted around or whatever from where it would normally be because of the influence of the gravitational body. But are you looking for things to well, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what you're looking for when you're looking for trying to measure.
Like how are we measuring it, basically?
Yeah, because all I know about is using atomic clocks on the ground and comparing them to
Earth-based time dilation. Yeah.
So what are they looking for in space?
Yeah. So my understanding, at least, and I may be wrong on this, but basically, what they're doing is nearby objects. It can be kind of approximated to have the same rest frame, I guess, based on their light as us. So you can kind of consider them the normal rest frame here. But when you're looking back in space into the far reaches of the universe, and of course you're looking back in time, essentially, the light on its way here, there's two aspects to it. So if you're talking about the wavelength being stretched, that's what ultimately leads to what we call redshift, or I should be more precise, cosmological redshift. But when you're talking about kind of the flip side of that coin, the frequency, which is tied to wavelength but isn't wavelength, basically you can think of it how many times the wave passes a given point in a given period of time. Basically, that's kind of the definition of frequency. And we can tell that from the light, actually. So if you have an object of known duration, basically, or just an event of known duration, and you compare that to the rest frame, and you see that the frequency has gotten slightly stretched as well, along with the wavelength. And in fact, the prediction is it would be stretched proportional to the redshift, because they're ultimately due to the same underlying cause, the expansion of the universe. Basically, the frequency is stretched too. So compared to objects close to us here on Earth, relatively speaking, like nearby galaxies, objects within those far distant galaxies, the events associated with them should be stretched as well. So they'll appear longer, or take longer compared to the ones nearby us. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we can tell, like I said, tell that from the frequency of the light. So basically, sum it up, you get redshift from stretching the wavelengths, and you get a time dilation of the frequency of the light from these events over a given period of time. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. I know that was kind of a long explanation.
Well, it gives us a little more background, and anybody who's interested can, further study and further look for information from actual sources and not misinformation sources. Yeah. So how are we doing out there?
So what the fuck? Okay. What is happening?
By the way, am I hearing your dog like trying to knock on the door? And
yeah, he keeps wanting in and out. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. If it's a dog, that's fine. If it's a human, we'll call 911 for you.
Yeah. Let him let me in.
For all the noises associated in the past, everyone know it's my dogs, it's my pets. So that's not a trade secret.
Take care of them dogs.
Yep.
I have no one else to look out for them.
Hang on a second.
Oh, you can't hear us?
Oh, I can hear him. I don't know what he's trying to do, but I can hear him talk and mutter and curse.
Okay.
That's how we know speed's okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. This my Mac cursor has slowed up again, and it's really difficult to do things and switch buttons. And so I'm probably not going to do a hell of a lot today. But anyway, I have no idea why it does that. I think it's like Microsoft products. If you're running Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, Microsoft does not play nice with the Mac. And I almost think they do it on purpose, because you're not running Windows. Yeah.
They started out as a competition, and they really haven't stopped being competition. So why would they work that well together?
So Joel Duff did a thing on AI. Did anybody watch that? I have not yet, but it was about that AI
like artificial intelligence AI.
Yeah, that chatbot thing that everybody's raving about.
No.
So my son signed up for that, and he gave it a programming problem to basically in React Native to develop a screen that showed slides, and it came back with 3 different programs, all of which worked. He asked it to use certain libraries. It was smart enough to go out and do the libraries and write code for him. And I have no idea how they're doing this. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It was, but like if you wanted to learn programming, you can use this thing Like if you're, if you want to see how something's done, just give it like a verbal description of what you want done. And it comes back with code, working code that basically can show you how to do something. So normally when you're a programmer, because there are so many different new frameworks and libraries that clients want you to use, or wherever you work, you're always looking stuff up on Google, how to do this, how to do that in some library, right? That you're not familiar with. So with this thing, you can just tell it to use those libraries and show you, and it comes back and shows you the code. It's like I was astonished by the code that it wrote, because it took me several weeks to get that far in React, and it just popped it right out. Anyway, it's kind of cool. But anyway, I'd like to see what I think. Dr. Joel Duff was kind of pushing back on it a little bit, but I'm not sure. So anyway,
what did he finally settle on for his channel name? He changed it to Joel Duff, but then had a stream set up to talk about his channel name and plans for his channel in the future.
Really?
So I don't know if he's going to change it again, or
I don't know.
Yeah,
not sure. I haven't. Well, I try to catch his videos, but I haven't caught one for a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure what's going on. But I have to step away for a second, guys. So if you want to get into the comment to say, I will be listening, but I have to do something.
Okay.
I have to attend to a pet. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snack must be stuck in something. I love it when cats get stuck in things. I know my mom had this big old, what do they call it? Almost a feral tabby cat. It was huge. It was as big around as a log. And somehow it got stuck between the back corner and her water heater. And so she had to call a plumber to come and take apart her water heater so they could get that big old cat out of there.
Oh.
They get themselves into some situations.
Is the cat doing okay?
Well, that was several years ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened to it. They sent all the different cats that my mom had off to different new owners after she died. So I don't know where. I can't even remember its name anymore.
So we got in side chat today. Hey, Nerdy Rodents. Hey, Dave. Sorry, I forgot to say hi to you earlier.
Yeah, we got Maya is here. So is Carol the Atheist.
Hey, Carol.
Command Side. Bree's here.
Hey, Bree. Looks about it. So how are things with you, Scott?
Well, they're going pretty good. I had a rough day this morning, what with migraines and stuff. So I think I'm getting better. Let's see, is Danny still banned? Well, we can see him and talk to him.
Banned and not banned, Danny, at the same time.
It's a Schroeder's Danny.
No, Danny's not banned. He's still welcome here.
Schrodinger's Danny.
Yeah.
Schrodinger Danny. Yeah.
I'm glad someone got the reference.
Yeah. It's just that I banned so many of the sock puppets on YouTube that I have no idea which the real Danny is, and I have no way to correct any of that. I don't think
there is a real Danny. I think he's just sock puppets all the way down.
Sock puppets all the way down. That's what it is. So anyway.
Hey, Busta.
So I let Snack into the furnace room, and we have a 12-inch pipe that goes all the way to the ceiling. It's 35 feet, right?
Oh.
And he decides to crawl up inside of it. And he would have kept going, but I caught him and started beating on the pipe, and he got a little freaked out, and he ran out, and then I shut the furnace room, and now he's obsessed with going back in there so he can run up that pipe. So if he goes up that pipe, we're going to have construction people and firemen come in and try to get him somewhere up in the attic, 35 feet up. And that little devil, he will go into any hole, any crevice. And it's
a place that he's not in.
Yeah.
Right.
Therefore, he has to be there.
He has to be in every place. So I put a cat carrier down the other day, and he went over there and expertly opened the door, ran inside, and closed the door behind him. It didn't latch, but it's like, he's like a little mechanic. He's pretty cool. He's only like 6 months old, so.
Well, you just need to tie a big rope to his tail so that there's always rope sticking out so you can just pull on it.
Well, his tail is actually big enough to tie that around a chair or something. So anyway.
Today he'll be exploring the cat carrier. Tomorrow he'll be taking over your entire house speed.
Yeah. Yep. He's a problem.
You're going to be out of house and home.
He's already taken over the entire house. He is way too much cat personality for a tiny little house like we have. Like 5,000 square feet. He needs like a 25,000 square foot house. So too much personality. Anyway, so Common Descent was the other thing you wanted to check out, right?
Yeah, just I'll just generally talk about it. I was thinking about, like, should we? This might be a bad idea, but should we do what some other channels are doing, like a challenge to creationists to in the title or something, to come on, give us their best evidence?
Yeah.
Or against, does that kind of make us no better than they are? I don't know.
Against Common Defense? Or Common Descent?
Yeah.
Common Defense is in the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, by the way, the other day I said the Wnt beta carotene pathway, and I'm horrified that I said that because it's every time I think of catenin, I think carotene, and the two things meld together in my mind. So I was wrong about that. It's the Wnt beta catenin pathway.
It happens.
And catenin means chain. Ooh. Because speaking of Common Descent, beta catenin and gamma catenin are related, and they were first discovered because they hook on to those cadherins on the cell membrane that I was showing you, those things that make cells stick together.
Yep.
Well, they hook onto the cadherins from the inside of the cell, and then they hook up to the actin the cytoskeleton of the cell. And so what happens is, you know how flimsy the cell membrane is in eukaryotes? It's really flimsy. It's like a soap bubble, right? Well, what ends up happening is through the integrins and the catenins and the cadherins and the actin cytoskeleton, you have one cytoskeleton kind of hooked up directly by proteins to the cytoskeleton in the next cell. And it kind of bypasses. They go through the membrane. But basically what the membrane does is keeps certain things out of the cell. It's like a piece of plastic around the cell. But the actual strength of the cell is from the one cytoskeleton hooking up to the next. And beta-catenin is one of them. Well, anyway, so beta-catenin also has totally different functions. It's also a signaling. It's in a signaling pathway that turns on genes. It goes into the nucleus if it isn't destroyed, and it turns on a certain set of genes. So it has that function, which is completely separate from the function it has in hooking up cytoskeletons. So it was one of those co-opted proteins because it has several domains, and some of the domains do one thing and some of the domains do another thing. It's really interesting. And, Common Designer, man, he had this thing laying around. So he just, he had what would be an equivalent tool set idea. He had a hammer laying around, and he had
a hammer, and he warped it so we could also use it for cooking food.
No, he had a hammer, and he was hammering nails, and he also decided it was a way to signal his wife, so he threw it at her.
Oh. So
it's also a signal, right? You could use it as a signal, like if I threw a hammer at you, it'd get your attention, right?
Oh, okay. That's a...
Yeah, so
a better but darker analogy.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually.
This channel does not condone family violence.
No, we
That's
don't.
right. Don't
we
actually
condone
throw
it.
hammers at your actual human beings
No,
or pets, especially not the pets
Yeah, not the pets.
or kids. No, not the pets, not the kids. Maybe
Oh,
not
yes.
your adults, but definitely not the pets and the kids.
So the ketamine pathway. So they're using ketamines in some medical stuff. Psychologists are using it to basically do psychology. And ketamines are basically PCP or horse tranquilizer. And God, I would never take that stuff again. I got to admit, I took it a couple times back in the 70s and the 60s. And holy shit, you don't ever want to take that stuff. Bad shit happens.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, going back to what you said, it's interesting how you brought up that specifically, because it made me think of something again, I guess. How well, like you said, they claim it's just the designer reusing parts for different purposes, but
Yep.
if you think about it,
It's a stupid analogy.
well,
Or should I say it's
yeah.
disanalogous?
Right, yeah, but beyond that, like, you can clearly tell some of these things were designed, quote unquote, for one particular function, and they've very obviously been co-opted for something else, or in this case they would say it's been reused. But why would he need to reuse it? Like, if this is what I don't get, like, if
If you're omnipotent, why would you? Yeah.
If you have a set plan and you know it works, why do you need to reuse it again? Like, that's not what human designers do, and they claim human designers do that, or not. The common designer is analogous to human designers in every shape and form. But like, I guess it could come back with, oh, it's just him being really creative. But if he's really creative, then doesn't that also go against the whole
using stuff over
this way? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're omnipotent, it doesn't matter how much work you do. I mean,
right.
He could have custom designed every protein to have one function. And also, I wanted to point out, Andrew, that beta-catenin is a really good example of pleiotropy.
Right.
And basically, when you're looking at modifying that pathway, now there are ways that you can modify that pathway. So if you see the diagram I've got here, those little blue boxes on the upper right, that's E-cadherin and beta-catenin, and then it hooks up to alpha-catenin, which dimerizes and hooks up to the actin skeleton. So that's one function, and it hooks up to a neighboring cell. Well, all the other stuff on the left is the Wnt beta-catenin pathway that turns on certain genes. Like you can see down in the nucleus on the lower right, you see the red beta-catenin, and it's hooked up, and it expresses genes, so it's an expressor for certain genes. And what happens is if wingless attaches to the cell membrane, to the signal, to the frizzled receptor on the cell membrane, what it does is it turns on the beta-catenin pathway. But if it isn't present, then beta-catenin gets broken down by the proteasome. It gets, basically destroyed. And in certain parts of the embryo, you will have beta-catenin, like in the butthole part of the echinoderm, and in other parts you won't, like in the head part, it's not present. So, but these are totally separate functions. And the interesting thing is that they use different parts of the protein domains. Like that protein has several. It has a big armadillo complex, and it has basically a C terminal and an N terminal end. And all of these different parts can have different functions, basically. So you could modify one. In fact, that's what happened with, I think it was gamma, or maybe it's the alpha-catenin. No, it's the gamma-catenin that ended up losing just one of those functions, but it still had the other function. So,
right.
And those two proteins are very much alike. So you could see a common descent in these proteins. So it's kind of good, but it's a really good example of how something could evolve.
Right. Yeah, because we
Yep.
often find like tracing it back, things that now have different functions, and you trace it back, and it's a common protein that did multiple things, just not as well individually as the proteins that do it now, because it's less specialized.
Right.
That's an example of subfunctionalization there.
Yep. So did you have anything else on common descent?
I guess I have a question for you. Do you know how many amino acids there are like possible, or is it like an infinite number? Or I'm not a
It,
biochemistry guy.
it would be it would be a very large number. I don't know if you'd call it infinite, but yeah, you could have
Okay.
thousands and thousands.
Is there a certain number that's present here on Earth?
God, I don't know the answer to that. I'm guessing there are about 100 different ones that you would find in basically in the wild. Like if you looked at all the plants, you'd find odd amino acids here and there, I think.
Right.
We use 20 plus two kind of one-off ones.
Yeah.
And that they basically got selected. And that was all that was necessary for really complicated proteins. So all the rest of them kind of fell off. But I think in prebiotic Earth, we were probably dealing with like 120 of them or more that were, prevalent. And the 22 that we used got selected out of those. So because they were sufficient to do the job.
Well, do we know if there were any of those non-20 ones that occur in life? If there are any others that are like almost similar to the ones that we use, but like could have like slightly different?
I think in plants that's the case. The plants use some of the D amino acids as well as the L, and I think some bacteria do too. And they don't use them in proteins. Well, they could end up in proteins, but they use them for various different defense systems. And so they are present. There are traces of some of these other amino acids, and whether or not, you see, plant biochemistry is just unbelievably. We've only looked at just a very small part of
right.
all of.
We're pretty animal centric.
Yeah, yeah, and in animals, things are pretty well contained and constrained. And because we've had 4.5 billion years to constrain them. Plants, on the other hand, make a lot of weird stuff, like penicillin and shit like or plant and fungi. And the animals
like we all life uses was it L amino acids, not the D ones, right?
Right, except for bacteria, and some plants. Basically, we'll have uses for a few of those D, and I haven't. I got a couple papers somewhere on that, but I haven't looked too far into it. So
okay, because I well, this is just my hunch, but like those wouldn't be. They might be using them, but they're not as deeply rooted as the other amino acids are, right?
No, not at all. They don't enter into the protein production in the plant or into the genetic code, basically. Okay. But they're used for other things, other pathways.
Right. Yeah, because that's one thing, at least for the protein synthesis pathway. Why are we only using one kind of amino acid, and in particular only these 20 or so, and not all the other ones that we could have ended up with?
That's because the amino acyl transferases, we only have a certain number of them, and they happen to select those particular amino acids. And it just ended up that way. So the AARSs, I think, amino acyl transferase.
So you're saying it wasn't completely arbitrary?
There was probably good reasons for them being selected, being available, but it was kind of arbitrary as to which AARSs got created, in the genome or in abiogenesis. So I think it was, as far as there was a statistical reason why it happened the way it did, but in some sense, it is kind of arbitrary. It could have been different amino acids that got produced.
See, this is like one thing I'm really interested in is could things have been different basically?
I think so. In fact, I think if we basically run into alien life, they are not going to be able to eat the same food as we do, because I think they will have different amino acids. Almost undoubtedly, they will have different amino acids and definitely different genetic codes. So they couldn't eat us and digest us, basically, and get nutrition.
I guess that's one argument the creationists put forward as to why we all have pretty much the same set of amino acids. Is, well, we couldn't eat each other then.
Right. We couldn't be cannibals. Yeah.
Right. I guess, well, the issues I take with that are, for one thing, who says we have to eat other organisms? Like, there are organisms that don't eat other organisms. But also, if God or the common designer really wanted to make it apparent that things weren't related to each other, as the young earth creationists so vehemently argue for, then he could have made different taxa with completely different sets of amino acids potentially. That would make things a bit more complicated, but it would serve the purpose of just why did we have to end up with this set in particular? Like, why couldn't it have been a set of 20 of different amino acids? I'm not a biochemistry guy, like I said. I'm not an expert in it, but it seems
there's all that
arbitrary stuff going on there.
There's all that stuff in the Bible about eating unclean animals and stuff. Well,
yeah,
it should have been designed so they had different amino acids, and basically humans and just cows, nothing else. You can eat cows and nothing else. He could have made us really special.
Right.
They could eat sheep, right? So
but we're not.
Cows, sheep.
Why didn't he make us and lions have completely different sets so that lions couldn't eat us when we were living in Africa?
Right.
Or wherever we were supposed to originate from in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, if human designers had designed this shit, it would really be different. Humans would really, really be very special. We wouldn't be anything like chimpanzees. Of course, El Cordova thinks that we have to be like chimpanzees so we can use them for medical research.
Yeah, that's the other
which is
argument.
Really a gross thought when you think about, if you like animals, when you listen to El Cordova, you think, this guy's an asshole.
Well, why did he have to make all of them with the same? Like, why couldn't he have made it in just a few specific ones that we could have use as model organisms? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. He could have made non-sentient beings for medical research, that felt no pain and had no consciousness. And, he didn't have to do it the way he did it. So,
I made some really cool, smart-ass jokes earlier, and I was muted the whole time.
Really?
Oh yeah, y'all missed out. I do apologize.
Oh my. I was going to show you a bunch of stuff, but you know what? Things are so slow on my cursor right now that I'm not sure how much I can show you. But I guess just this one thing. Okay, this is a, let's see. Okay, this is a tunicate. So this is not a, we got to hide that comment. Let's see, hide message from stream. So you can see that. But so anyway, this is one of those little diagrams that basically you start out with real simple cell types when they first start, dividing. And then it shows you the descendants and what ends up creating the muscles on the right and all that. So can you see the diagram, Andrew?
Yeah.
So at the 64 cell stage, you've got all this differentiation. And when you look at the evolution of multicellular animals, it's really interesting to start to try to imagine, and now creationists would love that I said that, but imagine basically how very simple organisms started to differentiate different parts of themselves and stick together. So basically they were a colony of the same kind of cells, but eventually when they hatched out and they colonized and they started dividing and sticking to each other, they started to differentiate so that one part of the organism ended up being in charge of acquiring food, and the other part of the organism ended up being in charge of digesting food. So if you imagine a really simple animal with just two sides to it and two different functions, but you can see basically as things went along, mutations caused more and more of these branches, and the ones that worked were selected. So the animal ended up changing itself, modifying, morphing, becoming a different kind of animal. And natural selection, which is extremely important, Danny, basically cut out the parts that didn't work and kept the parts that did. And you ended up with all this different
colony of colonies, basically.
Yeah.
I bet this was too scientific a topic, and Danny's not listening anymore.
Maybe.
Natural selection,
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to anticipate that he doesn't like to get as sciencey as this.
Probably
I could be wrong.
See, the question Nerdy Rodent just popped up. I would actually like to, because we all see the same logic behind that, but like, the response I typically give to that.
Oh God!
If you would ever like to talk about that, Nerdy Rodent, to someone, I don't know who, is take a human or take a frog, take an animal, take whatever multicellular organism you can find, and put it at the bottom of the ocean near a scorching hot vent. Heck, put it inside the vent, and tell me how well it does. Now, of course, there are extremophile animals and all that, but like multicellularity isn't a good thing in all cases. So I know I'm taking a more serious response to your question than you probably meant it, but I don't know. Just think about that.
Yeah, there's why.
That's great food. Great food for thought, Andrew.
Yeah, just food for thought.
Yeah, some things basically morphed at a different speed than the other things, and some things were just fine in their niche, staying the same, and we ended up with diversity.
Right.
Part of the team goes off and develops different habits and different dresses differently, and eventually, they go off to an island by themselves, and they end up differentiating. Well, the team that stays home ends up being ultra-right conservatives that want to keep everything like it was in 1950, right? So I mean, it's pretty obvious. So I'm privy.
You calling bacteria conservative now?
Yeah, they're very conservative. They're right wing. So I'm privy to a conversation for a software company, a multi-million-dollar software company, and they came up with $1 billion business idea. And I'm watching my messages. Highly secure Bluetooth video camera that integrates with your phone and attaches to your toilet so you can see your asshole is clean in real time.
What?
Extra credit if it's integrated with a bidet. Higher end could use AI to rate how clean your butthole is. Let's see.
What's a bidet? Bidet. Okay.
A bidet. Yeah, there you go. You got a name for it. Bidet.
Trademark.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Okay.
Because that's how it's done. You just shout trademark.
I'm going to suggest that to them. But AI.
Got to pay me money. I got the trademark on it.
Okay. Let's see. Pretty sure it's the most profitable app we have this year. Anyway. Oh my God. And then the other guy says, by the way, you're fired. Anyway. I can't tell you which company that is.
Maybe they have an AI that you can do your own at-home colonoscopy, so you don't have to go to a special place to do that.
Yeah, a camera that goes up your butthole and basically goes to your Bluetooth.
Boy, talk about creative stimulation there.
Yeah, some stuff. Anyway.
When that Nerdy Rodent actually brought it up, I was just about to bring it up actually. Has anyone else talked about all the Volvocene algae and their evolution recently? I don't know, because that's an interesting topic, kind of that whole transition to multicellularity. What the heck is that? I hear music.
That's my text messages. They responded.
Your text messages have music when they play?
I believe they use they pronouns. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Anyway, they haven't responded to the bidet AI. Oh, so I gotta spell it differently. I think bid.
Like, it turns out multicellularity isn't a very difficult thing to trait to evolve, essentially. Like,
Not at
once
all.
you, like, multiple lineages have done it throughout evolutionary history, and I don't know, maybe someone would say, oh, you're just assuming that, but like, if it was really difficult, why do we see it all over the place?
Right.
And in things where their or close relatives are not multicellular.
And those sticky substances on the cell are used by some single-celled animals to move along. Basically, they stick to the substrate, and then they stick out a philopodia in front of them, and then that grabs on and sticks to the substrate, and then the cell from behind it, the actin pulls up, and they move along. So they treadmill. So things like cadherins and all the proteins that are used to stick us together as a multicellular animal have basically homologs in prokaryotes that were used for other things. And you can just see the evolutionary pathway of these proteins.
Yeah.
Anyway. So what we have up here is an echinoderm. Okay. So up to the 4-cell stage, basically it divides radially, or like along the long up and down axis, the oral aboral axis. On the bottom is where the butt's going to be, and on the top is where the mouth is going to be. So that's how it looks. And then it goes to 8 stages, and then they start to basically differentiate, and they break in the 16-cell stage. You have these micromeres and macromeres. Well, the micromeres again divide into 2 layers, and the bottom layer becomes the gametes, or the germ cells for the next generation. So those get basically frozen in time after about 32 cell stage, so that they don't have to copy a lot of DNA, so that whatever mutations are going to happen probably happened in the first maybe 5 divisions of the cell, right? So that's why mutation isn't really bad. But then we go along, and this thing turns into a blastula. Those cells start to stick together, and then they stick together and they keep dividing, but the bottom end doesn't stick together, so it creates a big hollow chamber. Okay. And then it has a vegetal pole on the bottom, which on the bottom row here, you see the red. So the red ends up being called primary mesenchyme. And what that does is it goes through a little process, which I have a picture of, and my mouse is really slow, so I'm having trouble finding it. God damn it. I hate this. Anyway, those things end up sticking out, like they send up these little philopodia that reach on top of the cells, or on top of the layer, and they end up squeezing themselves out and breaking away, and they migrate onto the sides of the inside, that bubble, that balloon, right? They migrate onto the sides, and those become the skeleton. So they stick out 5 arms, and they become the 5 arms of the starfish, or the echinoderm, basically. And then that yellow part starts to not invaginate, but it starts. They have another word for it. Why is it doing that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Why is it doing that? That is weird.
I do not know why it's doing that.
I don't know why it's doing that. Why are you doing that?
Maybe Elon Musk is censoring us all the way from Twitter.
Yeah,
This
it could
picture
be.
reminds me of one like really simple animal, but I for some reason can't remember what it's called. I know it starts with a P, and it's not planarian, even though I keep thinking that. Uh,
Pudding.
right, this is really annoying me.
That's a P word. That came to mind.
Yeah, but that's
Peas.
not an animal.
Is this thing going to keep turning black on me? Yes, it is. Why are you doing this? I have no idea what's going on right now. Wow, I have too many things running, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, I'll show you one more thing.
Well, actually, before you do that, or fun fact, actually, not all sea stars have multiples of 5 arms.
Really?
Yeah, there are some with, I think, either 20 or 24. I forget, but like, yeah, they're like the really big sea stars. They don't have a multiple of 5 arms.
Wow. I wonder. Yeah, I was wondering why 5 arms. I mean, why do all of the most of the echinoderms have those 5 different skeletal
I
rods
don't
that they
know.
create?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good
wondering
question.
why 5. I'm trying to find that out. Anyway, here's the okay. This is the butthole on the left, and basically this is how it forms. It shows you how the cells constrict on the. Let's say they constrict on the
Well,
outside.
That's an embryonic butthole.
Yeah, yeah. It's an echinoderm.
Butthole and some sort of whatever derm.
Yeah, they constrict on one end and they get fatter on the other end, and they end up forming that curvature, and they end up pressing inward, and it presses inward, and then the cells start to slip. They keep dividing, but they slip along each other, and they end up extending a tube all the way to the top of that embryo. And when it reaches the top, it sends out these other little filopodia that find a certain spot on the top of that membrane, and they attach to it, and they create the mouth. And that's basically the very simplest gut formation that we have. And something like that happens in all deuterostomes, basically. And that's how our gut forms. But in the echinoderm case, it doesn't do anything else. It just has that gut, that one digestive thing. It doesn't have a liver. It doesn't have kidneys. All that stuff basically is more differentiation. So when you start looking at really simple animals and how they develop, you can start to visualize how evolution happened along the other axis, which is, the timeline of basically simple organisms to complex. It's kind of ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny to a point. That is a hated expression. It used to be popular in like the basically the 19th century, but they figured out that it wasn't really the case. You remember Haeckel's thing and all that,
Yeah.
the big fuckamaroo about that.
Well, I mean,
Anyway,
even during Haeckel's time, people already knew it was false.
yeah, but it's still there are some aspects of it that are informative in that you
Right.
can see.
There are parts of it, yeah, there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I actually
Anyways,
looked it up. The Pacific Sun Star has 24 arms, so not 25, 24.
Wow, that's
So
bizarre. I'm going back to not showing stuff.
okay.
Because I think we're going to end pretty quick. But I just wanted to go a little bit further with the echinoderms. I have 2 textbooks that we could start looking at, and we could go through the whole story. And
Okay.
I think it would be really productive, but things have to be behaving a little better on my computer. I mean, I've got a really powerful MacBook Pro with a ton of memory, like 2 terabytes or something of virtual memory. And I don't understand what particular piece of software is doing this, but something is really screwing up. It's really irritating.
Anyway. Pseudopodia are you talking about like amoeba pseudopodia or something else, Logan?
Filopodia, basically, like our cells have all kinds of filopodia that reach out and crawl along. Like if you cut yourself, basically some of your cells will actually crawl across that cut and leave a trail of basically chemo signals, that will tell your skin how to heal.
Right.
So we have all kinds of crawly stuff inside of us. We still have amoeba-like cells that crawl around, and like we have immune cells that chase bacteria. They stick out these filopodia, these filaments. Filament feet is where it comes from. Pseudopodia, filopodia. And they stick out these feet and they drag the cell along. So we have a ton of that. And in embryology, that's a really important part of how we develop. These philopods stick out. I have another picture that shows.
Hey, Speed, is there any way to do a poll in the side chat?
Not that I know of.
You have to have a certain number of.
Oh shit!
People.
You have 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you hear that? You hear that, you people out there? Go get your grandma, your aunts and uncles, and have them all subbed to my channel.
Yeah, they don't have to be actually logging on in order to be counted as a subscriber.
Right. Just subscribe. Get me over 1,000. I can't even make 600. I was almost at 599 and I went back to 592. It's like, God damn it. Anyway.
I was thinking that we were going to go back down a few subscribers after we started talking about anuses and bidet eyes and things.
Yeah. Anyway, Carol, I do have the iPad hooked up right now, but I'm having too much trouble moving my cursor around to even begin to start drawing stuff. But I actually, my crappy drawings, I love that somebody appreciates them. I really wish I'd learned how to draw when I was a kid. God, that would have been a useful skill.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even write. Like in second grade, they were thinking about holding me back because I couldn't write cursive.
Oh.
Because my cursive was so miserably bad. About 10 years ago, I sat down and I worked on it. So now it's a lot better. But it's still, it was so bad that nobody could read I couldn't even read my own writing.
They didn't teach me very much cursive. I only know how to cursive my name. And it's still really bad.
Yeah, they don't teach it anymore because
I've always had horrible handwriting. And I got into some trouble, in like third, fourth grade, something like that. And then for my handwriting, maybe it was fifth grade. I don't know, fourth grade.
Yeah.
And then my son was even worse. I mean, his handwriting is unreadable. And if you're ever listening, Jacob, I love you. Your handwriting's the way it is. And so.
Yeah,
they were a skill that people are going to lose mastery over.
They were threatening to hold me back because of that alone. That one skill.
Said, wow! Wait 40 years, principal. This stuff will be archaic.
To give you some idea about the schools, they held my brother back. They dropped him back from second grade to first grade because he was left-handed, and they wanted him to be right-handed. So they held him back because
that's just wrong right there. Yeah. That's just wrong.
Yep. They did a lot of crappy shit before they got woke. Just wake up, people. Get woke. There's nothing wrong with woke. Wake the fuck up.
Hey, before we cut things off, Scott, would you mind posing a question in side chat? I don't know. For all you micro nerds out there.
Hey, do we have a banner capability? Have you run across that?
I haven't yet. No, I'm sure it's out there on what would it be, on graphics somewhere? I'm going to shut down PowerPoint and see if I have better luck here.
It's a question.
Well, I can't. There's no way I can even get to settings or anything until my cursor starts behaving.
Andrew, what's the question?
What do you think? What do you like better? Do you like amoebas or do you like all those ciliates and all their kin? I let's have a weird question to ask, but like
amoebas when you look at an amoeba,
huh?
You mean like amoebas versus paramecia?
Yeah, like a paramecium versus just a common amoeba. Like, which do you? I don't know, just which sticks out more to you.
All right.
What do you guys think?
I've asked, okay, Nerdy Rodent votes for Amoeba,
Okay.
even though they'll give you the horrible shits. That's
I
a
like
medical term.
Paramecium.
Don't
Yeah,
cancel.
you did proposing the paramecium, Scott. I was lacking a common example.
Well, you know, I grew up in the 70s, and paisley was like the pattern of the day. You know, everything was paisley, and they always
Right.
looked like paramecium to me. So
I had paisley pants for fun.
yeah, paisley everything. I hated the 70s fashion. Although now, you know, looking back at videos from the 70s, some of it was pretty good. But at the time, it's like in Arkansas, they only knew the worst kind of 70s fashion. It's like, okay, if it's going to be shitty and lousy and ugly, ship it to Arkansas because, yeah.
Wow.
Did you know that some I don't think it's paramecium specifically, but there are other cells that actually are cannibals, just like some animals.
Cells are cannibals, like animals?
Yeah,
I would think so.
Oh, they eat their
I
own
did know
kind?
that a while ago, so that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I think Nerdy's given us some really good medical advice, although he's not a doctor. Check with your doctor for. I assume he's not a doctor.
Don't get amoebas and animals mixed
Yeah,
up.
I assume he's a he. I'm assuming too much. Nerdy Rodent says don't get amoebas and enemas mixed up.
No question.
I think that's just darn good advice.
That is really good advice. That's why people come to this channel.
I know.
Like
That's why when Nerdy is gone for more than a couple of days, I really get nervous.
Right. Okay, default.
I think when people think amoeba, they think of like that brain eating one. I don't know which one it is, but like it gets in you and it starts digesting your neurons or something.
A neuron eating amoeba.
Yep.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you for the nightmare, Andrew.
Sleep.
Scotty?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So we can add.
We do have banner capability.
Okay, it's under captions. So, and Scott is a team member now. So Scott, you can bring people into the stream and all that stuff. You see the people on the left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I brought Andrew in earlier.
Oh, okay. So you are in control. So
hey, Gur is here. Hey, Gur.
They start out with well.
Can you say?
Looks like we only got 2 votes right now. I expected as much. Oh well.
We only got 2 upvotes.
I'm the only micro-loving person here. I'm so sad.
See, you can do custom things. But I don't have my Beavis and Butthead video yet. So. Oh, nice. And so you can do custom things, and we can do that. How about that? Just work it around. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. I'm glad I spent $500 on this fucking crap. Oh, anyway.
There's no poll, Logan. Just type it in the side chat. We can't do polls right now.
Yeah, we're not sophisticated enough to do polls.
Cool. You'll have to do.
I managed to get my cursor moving faster by shutting down Preview because I had 2 textbooks open and PowerPoint. So apparently my Mac is, God, I think I got like 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM and 2 terabytes of virtual space. I don't understand why it needs more than that to run fucking software.
I found this on the web.
What? Siri, shut the fuck. See, Siri's hitting on me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
It makes me very uncomfortable.
Her input.
I'm sorry.
Siri's sorry. She said she's sorry. Did you hear that?
It reminds me of those that app on certain cars when you ask, "How are you doing today?" and they actually respond.
Brain-eating amoebas. Oh, we have to feature that someday. That's pretty awesome.
Only you would think that's awesome, Speed.
I think that's awesome. I don't know. I can think of a few people I would like to set those things on. I have candidates for medical testing for science. It's for science. Yes. Anyway. Oh, okay. Let's get the hell out of here. Are you going bye-bye tonight, Scott?
I am going to go see the grandkids so that their parents can go out and do something social.
Good.
Well, we have one person up for a brain eating amoeba special.
Yeah, I would watch a brain eating amoeba special.
Check your current RAM. Yeah, I could check my current RAM, but yeah, I could. Why don't I just run my fucking activity monitor? Thank you. I never think of that. Looking for an original sin since we first met with 30. You can't find an original.
Yeah, what I hate those copycat sins.
Yeah, copycat sins.
Where is the originality and creativity?
Anyway, Rage 3 reason. I thought it was Rage 2 reason. So let's see. So Rage needs a wrench. Where's Rage? Because he changed his. Oh, Carol's the one that didn't want to be an administrator, right? So I can't.
No.
Where's Rage? I can't see Rage.
Yeah, girl, what are you talking about?
I don't know what the hell you're talking. Oh, here he is. Hey, I'm gonna make you a mod. Yeah, moderator. There you go.
Your special assignment is to ban Gurmania.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's a mod too. You can't ban him. Oh well.
Oh shit. Let me fix that.
I have to reach detente.
Anyway, okay, I kind of want to quit for the day, boys
Okay.
and girls. How do we do that? Oh yeah, we have no outro anymore, so it's just like end.
You're just not used to that anymore.
Andrew, I need you to hum the outro for a few seconds.
I guess he's not going to do it.
No, I would be
He throws up. He's not into.
Wait a minute. Get the trumpet out and do the trumpet with the outro. Come on.
No, this is my instructed day off where I can't play. Actually, it's not my day. I just don't want to get it out.
Well, if you're not gonna show your beautiful trumpet skills, I'm not gonna show my beautiful singing voice.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Screw you, Gur. Speed giving me a wrench doesn't count. Wow. So, anyway. Okay, guys. We're gonna get the hell out of here and get on with our lives.
Yes, everybody. Thank you for coming by.
Yes.
As sad as our lives are, we're going.
It
to
always
get
makes
on
our
with it.
sad day when y'all come by and
Yeah.
show your wit, your humor,
Love it,
share your knowledge, and a few emojis.
Yep.
Yeah.
See you guys out there
Bye.
in the world. Oh, Bree. Damn. Bree.
Don't
Bree
forget
showed
about
up.
Bree. Who could forget about Bree? It's not
yeah.
possible.
So I wonder, Bree, I kind of like talk to Bree about some stuff. But anyway, maybe
Want me to throw the link out there? Or I guess I could send it to him.
yeah, I've got to get out and do something.
You got to get going. Okay.
Bree, I do have to talk to you at some point real soon here. Anyway, okay, we're going to end. So goodbye, cruel world.
Goodbye.